basically got into gamification a number of years ago, and you can see the power of it, because obviously being in the learning space, I was very much open to ideas of how one can improve learning for students, etc. So, and thus I did a course in gamification, so background in product management, lectured in economics, finance, e-business, and then I did a course in gamification. So does anybody know what gamification is? Okay.
Making tedious stuff fun so they get rewards.
Yeah, so in very simple, making tedious stuff fun. But it is interesting. So typically, I'm sure plenty of you are gamers. Pretty sure that's right. Yeah. So typically, the gaming world typically does not get on with the gamification world, because in essence, the gamification world is about the business people coming along and going, oh, those games look very interesting, all making people addicted to games. How can we go and get people addicted to our products and services? So fundamentally, what's happened is obviously the evolution of the games world in a certain silo over the last 40 years, and the business world looking on and going, that's very interesting. And in the last few years, basically the business world going, that's really interesting. How can you get people to be addicted to our products and services at its core? So fundamentally, gamification is about behavior change. So fundamentally, how do we change people's behavior? How do we get them to do things that they normally wouldn't have done? So I think gamification, and I don't really like the term, but it's the term it is going to be pretty big. And in fact, I think gamification can be applied to absolutely everything. Gamification can be applied to absolutely everything. There's nothing it can't be applied to.
How does that sort of thing? I mean, gamification of nursing and doctors. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost that one. Does it work well?
Absolutely, can be applied to absolutely anything. And
It's a bit pushy, isn't it?
so most people don't believe me when I say it is. So for example, I was at a train station the other day, and I was having a conversation. I don't know, got into some guy was using an app or something, got into a technology conversation. So married man, 2.4 family, and then he said, "You know what I really like annoying women online." I was like, "What?" So I started thinking of how how could gamification be used to. There's actually guys out there like that. I didn't know they existed, but I'm sure we do. But how could gamification, be designed to go and catch these guys? So you could like register the main annoying women online, and you could have a woman on a computer in the middle, and you could have bees around that person. The whole objective though is how can you become the most annoying bee? And in essence, you get guys like that to basically claim a bee and basically talk about their annoying things, how to do to them online, and to get points for being the most annoying. And again, of course, the police can go and catch them. But anyways, so fundamentally, I do believe that gamification can be applied to anything, and it's really interesting because and I'll go through in a second, why is gamification coming now, as opposed to, why is it a big thing now as opposed to 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 15 years ago? So fundamentally it's about behavior change, and when we have businesses approaches, corporates approaches, they typically want us to change behavior. So, one big area in this is enterprise gamification. So in other words, employees, they're used to the whole social media world, they're used to the whole gaming world, and fundamentally, the new generation of employees, they're all bored. They're bored of work. Everybody was bored of work before, but now they're really bored of work. And they basically come to us and say, look, well, how can we get them to do stuff and be interested in work by using gamification, so carrying out the same tasks, but using gamification. So it is interesting. I'm really interested in the whole psychology of it. If I said, right everybody, I want everybody to go outside into the grass out there, roll around in mud and wet, and cover yourselves in much and wet, and you go, what, are you crazy? And then they'll say, well, we're going to have a game, you know, and that game is rugby. Oh, yeah, that's totally fine. I don't want to go around and look down, like, you know. But, so it is really interesting because what's happening is that we have a collision of worlds, and a collision of worlds of internet, product, and psychology, and basically tapping into the whole games world. So I think what I call the spectrum of gamification. The spectrum of gamification is going to be very, very big. And I think anybody, is there any product designers in the world, in product developers, product designers in the room? No? Okay, maybe one and a half, kind of. Okay, so really, I think it's going to be very big. It can be, and we'll look later in terms of the impact it will have on business and products and services. But fundamentally, it drives competitiveness, it drives loyalty, it changes behaviors of consumers, employees, etc. And I always like this quote from Napoleon. You know, a soldier would fight long and hard for the ribbon. So in other words, I want you to go and get your head blown off, and don't worry about it, because we'll go back to your wife, partner, and say how great you fought. And if you come out of it alive, we'll give you a piece of ribbon. Okay, great. You know, so fundamentally, this has been, you know, in terms of psychology and using psychology and to impact on people's behavior goes back obviously a long time. But fundamentally, again, at its core is tapping into user psychology, people's psychology. So we'll quickly go through today, and we're kind of confined for time in terms of what is gamification. And effectively, what I hope to do is to give you some sort of framework for gamification. And I generally hold gamification workshops, and I'm kind of fascinated between the evils of gamification and the good side of gamification, like anything in the world in terms of a spectrum. So gamification can be used for good and gamification can be for evil. And typically with the workshops I have projects at the end, and I've got good projects and bad projects per se. So for example, I'd say to some of the people attending the workshop, well, how can we go and use gamification to get people to smoke more? So off they go, and you see they're just totally enthused at the end of it, and they want to go up to the owners of tobacco companies and say, look, I can go and gamify this to get young people to smoke more. And they come up with really, really good ideas and solutions around gamifying. So gamification can be used for, in my view, across any spectrum and to anything, for good and bad. So in terms of a definition of gamification, typically involves applying game design thinking to non-game applications to make them more fun and engaging. So at its core, what all that means is, the whole games world for the last 40 years, look at all the people being extremely addictive and liking it, enjoying it, being enthusiastic with it. And it's the business world coming down to it and saying, look, well, how can we apply the games world to the business world to go and change behavior, or to make the experience with our product and service more fun and immersive. So why now? Well, it's what I call the kind of perfect storm for gamification now is that social networking has become mainstream. So, you know, people are, you know, on Facebook, on Twitter, they're having fun, and then they have to go and do the boring work. They have access to multiple communication devices, internet is everywhere. We'll look at the stats later in terms of the number of matches of games. Again, which is kind of interesting in terms of Apple and Steve Jobs has brought aesthetics to the forefront. So people want things simple. Basically the rise of the social sciences as well in terms of psychology, anthropology, sociology. Everybody likes to play games. So definitely, as I said before, gamification is mapping that human psychology to technology. So all of those things brought together has created a perfect storm for where ultimately the business world is saying, right, we need to change what we do, we need to tap into the games world to make our products and services more engaging. So what's happening then is the spend on gamification is running into the multi-billions over the next decade. So literally a complete revamp, a rethink of products and services and how they are designed to engage consumers. So typically in the old world, it was like there was a clear separation between what people just thought were fun and what people thought were boring. And now what we're going to see is a fusion of those two worlds, whereby what was perceived as boring in the past will now become fun. At least that's what the objective is. So there are two types of gamification. You've got internal gamification and external gamification. And internal gamification being internal to the organization, typically employee gamification, and then external gamification, which is consumer focused. So we'll look at a number of gamification examples. Basically, a number of scientists got together and they tapped into the power of crowdsourcing, and they basically created a gamified solution where people had to come up with different types of protein design. Another example there, whereby a friend of mine was saying the other day that his wife was out for a walk, and the app that she's using, basically the longer she walks, it opens up another chapter. So literally she was coming back to the house, about to open the door, I want to read another chapter, off she goes again. So it's all about behavior change and obviously encouraging people to be fit, etc. Another example there, they brought a piano staircase. So this is the lift, and obviously everybody was going to lift and there was no one walking up the stairs. So they brought a piano staircase in, so literally that was making noise and sounds when you're walking up the stairs, etc. Okay, so everybody started walking the stairs, of course, now. You know, and that's the key thing as well, that there's a child in everybody. You know, so that's a key piece of tapping into that. This here is another example here, whereby this means here the deepest bin in the world. And of course, when you put a piece of paper into the bin, it made a big noise. So basically there's obviously electronics in here, but it gives the impression of a really, really deep bin. What happened? People started looking out for a piece of paper around the place. The bin wasn't used again up the street. This bin, people were searching everywhere for a piece of paper to put into the bin. Another example of the speed lottery system in Sweden. And the way this works is that if you go over the speed limit, they pick up your number plate and you're automatically fined. And if you go under the speed limit, you automatically put into a draw. So the money for the fund of people who go over the speed limit and basically speeding reduced by 30-something percent down to 20-something%. So there's a big change in terms of behavior. So going back to the point earlier, gamification applies to everything. And we can look at examples later, or how could you possibly gamify X? And as I said, I genuinely believe it can be applied to everything. So the way the business world is now looking at gamification is, well, this is the kind of expression of people working with games. So how can we get the same expression or experience for people using our product or service? So now the bar has been raised in terms of using gamification to drive this experience with products and services. So the words we associate with games, again, fun, engagement, escapism, challenging, enjoyment, etc. So fundamentally at its core, fun is the new free. So this is again, from the business world, what they're trying to apply to from the games world into the business world. So key things are that what can gamification do for business? Increase customer engagement, increase sales, increase brand loyalty, increase motivation, and increase competitive advantage. So at its core then, basically you're trying to achieve is an interactive, compelling customer experience. So in terms of the skill sets in the future, so I think there's a big gap in the market out there in terms of the skill sets for gamification, and I think it's going to be pretty big in the future. So there's a free course online called Coursera. Did I hear of Coursera? I'm not sure that's not Rockland. So there's a free course up there, and these are the kind of skill sets that basically are in that kind of gamification space. So in terms of understanding games, to fundamentally be able to use gamification or apply gamification, you need to understand about games. And so this is in terms of where the games first came from. Again, I don't fully believe it, but they talk about games and the first dice coming from an area called Lydia. And the reason it was created was to take people off thinking about hunger and famine all the time. So literally the dice was created and the games are created so people wouldn't be thinking about basically the famine, to distract them from the famine. And again, if you look at kind of, when did gamification first start? Well, this is a pure example here. You can see obviously perhaps hundreds of years ago a general saying, well, let's have a game, and let's have a game, see if we can hit that arrow closest to that point. And in essence, what at the core of what he's trying to do is to improve the military accuracy of the soldiers, okay, while playing a game. So in terms of the games world, I'm sure you're all familiar with this. By the age of 21, average person spends 10,000 hours playing games. 500 million people, 500 million global gamers in the world, likely to go to 1.5 billion over the next decade. We invest 3 billion hours weekly playing online games. Again, this is kind of the length of time relative to when we were ape-like. Okay, so basically, games are really, really big, and basically what we're doing then is basically applying the rules and elements of games into the business world. So what do we know about games? Well, games have a goal. In other words, first race to 100 meters, games have rules. There's also a illusory attitude. In other words, people are willing to partake in and abide by the rules of the game. So the Dutch philosopher, he refers to the magic circle of the game. So people are being brought into that magic circle. Another just key definition of a game: games are unnecessary obstacles that we volunteer to tackle. Games are unnecessary obstacles that we volunteer to tackle. So again, back to the same thing again. If you're asked someone to go out and hit a ball around the fields, to go, what, are you crazy? And then you put some sort of rules around it, and somewhere where people can win, it can change their whole attitude, and they're doing the underlying actions that they're doing are exactly the same. Does anybody know about this here? It's in South Africa, and it is basically a hole-in-one game, and basically you get $1 million if you get that hole-in-one. So it's, you get a helicopter to the top of the mountain, and you gotta go, and basically get $1 million to get the hole-in-one.
But I haven't done it.
I think they had yesterday. Rich people did. So, but when I repeat myself, basically this is what the business world is trying to do. People are bored, tired of work, and the existence of games, existence of social media is making them more bored, and they're trying to now bring games into the business world to completely change their psychology and give them that challenge. Okay, so again, why do people play games? Because they're bored, they want to socialize, fulfill a challenge, they want to be good at something, they want to escape, they like the sensation. So that's, so basically, gamers, what they call, create what's known as eustress. And that eustress, or positive stress, is what the business world wants now to drive on employees. So what are gamers good at? Urgent optimism, social fabric, they like working together. So again, what are the key things that we're constantly told in terms of from the corporate world, we want employees to create a social fabric, work better together, we want them to be more productive, and we want them to have a goal. So for example, again, I can't mention the companies, but we have a certain company there which they had an e-learning solution where basically employees were doing that e-learning solution during the most busiest time. So again, through the use of gamification, They applied a gamification solution around an e-learning solution, and what's happened? The employees are now doing it at home, rather than during work time. Okay? So just quickly, background to the video games space. Again, 40 years old, worth roughly $100 billion now. 44% of people in the US and UK have played a mobile game in the past month. 97% of 12 to 17-year-olds play video games. Average game player is 30 years old. 47% of all game players are women. Okay. So in terms of game design, the key skill in gamification is thinking like a game designer. So viewing your business problem the same way as a game designer would think about a game. So again, so basically what you're trying to do is, as a business person, is get into the same mind as a game designer. Actually, I'm sure there are plenty of game designers here. Is there? Yeah. So this is something that we kind of try and get the business world to do, is fundamentally think like a game designer, think what they're trying to achieve. And a key piece of this is player autonomy. So a player is doing it because they want to do it, not because they're told to do it. So in terms of the game mechanics, and a lot of these are used in gamification around products and services. I'm sure you've all seen these: points, leaderboards, badges, challenges, games, quests. So these are the key elements that, and some of the tools that we use in gamifying products and services out there. So I'm sure you're familiar with all these. Again, points, leaderboards, badges, networks and allies. Same again on that. And onboarding is a key piece that the start of every gamification solution that we do as well. So how do we go and bring people into the product or service? How do we get employees on board in using this gamified solution? Again, other gamified solutions out there, hot or not, so many people play that. Let me just quickly move on. Just a piece there around player journey. So the onboarding part is basically how you bring the customers, products, employees or customers onto your game, and basically then have a situation where there's a potential epic win at the end of it. Engagement loops are key as well, and engagement loops are key in the design of gamification. So, for example, you see it in LinkedIn that if you complete your profile, 100% of your profile, or for example, if you have 500 connections, get a certain badge, etc. So a key piece of this as well is dopamine, and tapping into that part of the player's brain. And what we see is that people tend to get a dopamine hit on anticipation of something good happening. Okay? So on anticipation of something good happening, again, what we call is, in the industry, is Easter eggs, whereby you give someone a surprise reward. So they do something, they don't anticipate it, and bang, wait, sweet, you just unlock the badge simply for hanging out on Samsung.com. Okay, so again, we simply see it in terms of a dopamine hit on the back of that. And again, in terms of betting, people getting a dopamine hit on anticipation of the money coming, rather than when the money comes out itself. So each time they're pulling that lever. So at its core in gamification is, although we went into one client, so at the core is trying to make customers addicted to your product or service. We actually went into one betting company, said, well, basically this is what we can do, make them addicted to your product or service. Said, no, we don't like the word addicted around here. That's exactly what they wanted to do. But, so in terms of rewards, different types of rewards in gamification, again, tangible and intangible rewards. And it's important as part of the research in terms of what rewards are going to get people going. Like we found in one client that, for example, having a coffee with the CEO of the company was better than actually a monetary prize. So again, it's important to tap into what exactly is going to do it for your employees. So you've got tangible and intangible rewards. We're finding that obviously a combination of both, but it's intangible rewards that drive employees. Again, expected and unexpected rewards. Status is a big thing. Status is a big, again, people feeling important, people feeling needed, recognition. And again, because of human beings, managers aren't very good at coming up to people, you're doing a great job and you're doing a great job, whereas obviously technology can go and do that. And technology can create an automated, let's say, manager to go and recognize good work instantaneously. So that is a big factor again, both in the consumer and employee space. There's both intrinsic rewards and extrinsic rewards. Intrinsic tend to be more deeper, more powerful than extrinsic rewards. This is all about meaning, why it exists, why it belong, power, status, versus extrinsic rewards being points, leaderboards, and badges. So in terms of reward types, I'm sure you've heard potentially Gabe Zuckerman. So he talks about SAPs, status, access, power, and stuff. That's part of that reward structure. So again, I spoke about the limitations, and again, in terms of gamification being done right, it was tried whereby people were encouraged, where they found out that by paying people to give blood, that actually there's less people willing to give blood, whereas actually, they tapped into other reward types for giving blood, that increased. So in terms of gamification design framework, this is the kind of framework that I use all the time in my workshops, and it's a 6-step process. So fundamentally defining your business objective. So fundamentally, what are you trying to achieve? So for example, we're working on a project right now where the core business objective is we want to have better visibility on what sales reps are going to do in the future. So what are the target behaviors? The target behaviors is fundamentally about what do you want your employees or consumers to do? So what exactly is the behavior that you're trying to change? Describe your players. I'll go into that in a second. There are 4 player types. Activity loops are absolutely key. Activity loops is basically reinforcing an action that's just been done. You're great at this. Well done. Your team has achieved X. Having fun in the solution as well, and deploying the appropriate tools, be it points, leaderboards, badges, intrinsic rewards, extrinsic rewards. So again, define the business goal. What do you want people to do? We want people to want to go into the shop. We want to buy our products. We want students to pass the exams. Just even back in college, when I went up to a results board, I didn't want to see a results board. I wanted to see jockeys. I wanted to see as if every single student was a jockey and they were racing along the way all the time. And I could see, basically the students in that kind of in the horse race going to the finish line. I didn't want just to see a results board. So target behaviors, identify what behaviors you want the consumers, employees to do or change. Describe your player types. Who are they? What do you know about the players? What is their psychological makeup? How can they be segmented? What motivates them? There are 4 player types, as I mentioned. And again, in terms of your consumers, your employees, you got to work out which player type they are, whether they're a killer type. So these guys want to win, not just win, but they want to kill everything around them. Okay. So there are a few, we come across certain psychotypes in employee organizations, so we got to satisfy their needs as well. So we got the obvious achievers who just want to win, they like to challenge in the organization, they want to compare their results. We got the explorer types. Again, so they want to investigate, they want to create stuff, discover stuff. So again, it's in the design of your gamified solution, you're tapping into each of these player types. And again, the socializers. And the majority of players are socializers where they want to share, they want to comment, and they want to help other people out. So again, Amy Jo Kim, she refers to certain keywords related to those player types. And why is this relevant? Because you use these keywords again in the product or service that you're trying to sell. So for example, if you had a website where it was highly social orientated, you'd use these type of keywords as to a more competitive website or gamified solution. So devising the activity loops, these are important again. Activity loops simply mean the feedback loops. When someone does something, the automatic loop back to that. So in other words, in LinkedIn, that when you go and get 85% of the profile completed, there's some sort of congrats, well done, you're only 15% away. So a good game as well, inside a gamified solution, takes players on a journey. So in other words, there's the onboarding, there's the habit building, and then some sort of goal or mastery level. Step 5 there, don't forget the fun. Is the underlying activity fun and engaging? You know, and then step 6 then is applying the appropriate tools, whether it is points, leaderboards, badges. That is, finally, is gamification right for your business? You need to look at the motivation behind it. Are there areas in your business where motivation change would be desired? Are there target activities which are sufficiently interesting? Structure, can we gamify the solution through some form of rules? And potential conflicts, can the game avoid tension with other motivational structures? So in terms of the critiques to gamification, there are obviously negative or downsides to gamification. There was an example in Disney World whereby they brought a gamified solution into for the cleaning ladies. So basically, they wanted the cleaning ladies to be more productive, and what they did was they basically created a leaderboard whereby, based on the number of rooms that were cleaned by the cleaning ladies, and suddenly the cleaning ladies were doing their smoking breaks, weren't going on their lunches, because that leaderboard was published every day, and basically the bottom of the leaderboard were effectively losing their jobs. Okay? So they basically got into an article in the States, and effectively the clean lady started calling it the electronic whip. Okay? Again, gamification solutions are brought into supermarkets, whereby a leaderboard is created around the employees that can get products scanned and into baskets as quickly as possible. Okay? So I went into a shop one day in Ireland, in Aldi, where they brought this solution in. I was going, oh my God, these people are really, really quick at their job. But then I basically found out there was a gamified solution behind it.